welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. This is an Arsenal special, an Arsenal transfer special, and we've got some exclusives. We've got player profiles, and we've got the full squad tonight. How you doing, boys?
How you doing, Kieran? All right, mate? Yep. Good.
Good. You good, Steve? You got plenty of information for these Arsenal fans. I know they're absolutely dying to hear some transfer news, some good news, probably bad news as well because this is Arsenal, and sprinkled with a little bit of disappointment.
That's it. All that. I mean, that's what makes the show, doesn't it? Eh?
All that and a little bit more. And how you doing, Jerome? I know you've got that player profile ready for us tonight. What are you saying?
Yeah, all fine. Always good to get stuck into the Arsenal. So, lots to talk about, lots to discuss.
All right, that's good. It's an easy topic for us. It's our passion. And I mean, when we talk about it, we've got to try and cram it into an hour or less, no more. That's how we cram it into. Any more, I'm going to cut us off. All right, and we can just put it into the next one. All right. Mm. All right. So we're going to start off today with a little bit of transfer rumours and sort of clarifying a few whether their stories are a bit rubbish out there or not. But we're going to start off today with Martin Odegaard makes his decision in Real Madrid, and looks like he's going to be staying with the club. With Arsenal failing to qualify for Europe and the managerial change at Madrid, the Norwegian is determined to give it another crack at Real Madrid, and he left a parting message saying, "Thank you so much for the 6 months there. My time at the Arsenal family, will always be a special one in my heart." So Martin Odegaard stays at Real Madrid. A bit disappointed there, Jerome, or can we look elsewhere for maybe a better player or just as good as?
Yeah, a little bit disappointed, to be honest. I think we mentioned this a while back that if Arsenal don't re-sign Odegaard, what he's done though is he's set the bar for the player that's got to come in that they're going to have to sign. Mm-hmm. Look, he coming in mid-season to any club is always difficult, but you could sort of say he hit the ground running. Maybe maybe didn't get enough goals and assists perhaps, but his overall play and fitting into the team was pretty decent. And from what we understand, maybe it was a case where Arsenal maybe tried to get him back, and either Real Madrid just didn't want to let him go, and they want to give him a chance there again. But yeah, I think it is a shame, depending on how much he would have cost. But very nice player, great age. And yeah, we'll wait and see how much of a disappointment it is, depending on what Arsenal go and do in that sort of attacking midfield position.
Yeah, Steve, big loss not getting Odegaard in, or do you see other players out there that could potentially do a better job than him?
Yeah, same as Jerome. A little bit gutted. I was hoping that he would stay. Like I think most Arsenal fans was hoping he would stay. I do worry about whether we can get someone in as good as him. He was at the club. We knew what his quality was. We knew what he could have grown into a very, very good Arsenal player. But right from the off, really, there was never a deal that said he could stay at Arsenal. There was a lot of reports saying that maybe if we spoke at the end of these loan spell, then maybe we can talk them into. But it never really went any further than that. And then Ancelotti came in, and then Lopez told Ancelotti over the last couple of weeks that Real Madrid wasn't going to be signing a lot of players in the summer window. So
that was pretty much the nail in the coffin, really, wasn't it?
And when as soon as I heard that, it was like, yeah, no, he's not. He's definitely not, going anywhere. But I still can't really see where he's going to fit in at Real Madrid, in that midfield. I mean, they think that Isco's on his way now, I wish him all the best. But I'm a little bit gutted, and I do worry about whether we can get someone as good as.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult trying to get someone as good as Martin Odegaard without European football. But then that's where the scouts come in. They can really test their resolve and do their job properly at Arsenal. So, yeah, hopefully they can get in someone who is a rough diamond or a hidden gem. Granit Xhaka, now that Switzerland have been eliminated from the European Championships, looks like he could be off. Looks like he's going to be off to Roma. That deal's is it more at the latter stages of that deal, Steve?
Yeah, this one's it's just a matter of time. All parties have agreed to him leaving and to, for him moving on. The only sticking point at the moment is the what Arsenal want for him and what Roma want to pay for him. I'm pretty sure they'll come round to a deal, but at the moment Roma are offering 12 million, which is an absolute joke. I mean, I'll be furious if they accept 12 million for
not being funny, yeah. Like this is a player who's had a very good European Championships. A lot of plaudits, especially after the France game. Surely they would have been thinking then, or at least worrying, that we've been faffing about a bit too much and other clubs could be interested.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I think he's worth. I mean, over this season, since Thomas Partey's came to the club, I think he could possibly even be worth what we bought him for. I think he's been that. Important to us. He's had to slip into, to left backs and centre halves, and I think since Thomas Partey's come, I think he's become a better player. I've never thought he was a bad player anyway, but he seems to get forward more. He passes the ball forward more, and just like Odegaard, you'll find better players with different attributes, but for a whole round player, I mean, he was probably one of the only players, if you take Kieran Tierney out of it, who, excuse me, French, who had some balls at Arsenal. He was the one who who did the rallying cries. He was the one who, so that's worth an extra 5-6 million on its own. But I mean, what do you boys think? I mean, what do you think he was worth?
It's hard because he's what has he got 2 years left on his deal. So once you get to that point, you kind of, it's not a loss, but you're depending on how valuable the player is on a global level or seen in the transfer market value, it's a difficult one because your value is going down there. After this European Championships, 25 mil. Arsenal. If Arsenal can get 20 mil for him, I think it's a deal that he needs to take. But if Roma are messing around with 12 million, I'm not even interested in selling him for 12 million. It's what's 12 million? It's nonsense. You're going to struggle to find a midfielder for 12 million. That even the most the most Granit Xhaka haters would struggle to find a central midfielder for 12 million to replace what Granit Xhaka does. So, yeah, no, I'm not interested in any sort of 12 million deal. Jerome?
You'd for 12 million. If you signed someone to replace him for 12 million, that player would be a punt, wouldn't they? They'd be like a young You couldn't get an established central midfielder for that price.
No way.
Nah. But then again, I guess obviously you wouldn't want to sell him for 12 million, but it's sort of the case where he's only really worth what someone's willing to pay. It's a shame there haven't been clubs lining up. And then that can push the price up. But maybe he's got his heart set on Roma. Maybe he's told the club that this is where I want to go. Just negotiate the best price you can get, sort of thing.
I think that's probably played a part in it as to why they're probably being a bit cheeky and offering 12 mil. When you deal with Italian clubs in general, there's not much money floating around there. So it's not an easy one. But like Arsenal need to play hardball, which I think they have done. They took the deal off the table, or it sounded like they took the deal off the table a couple of weeks ago, and now that's back on. because it looked like Roma was sort of not budging on any money. So it remains to be seen. But I think this still will get done. I think it will probably play more into Arsenal's favour, whether it's money up front now plus add-ons or whatnot.
I mean, he has to go because the fact that personally, and it's only personally, I don't think Arsenal would want to sell him, not for that money anyway. I think this is more of a factor of just Granit Xhaka's had enough and that he wants to go.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I can't see because the way he's acted in the press, he's been quite outspoken, and he is one of these players who, you know, he strikes me as a winner. You know, in a bad team, he doesn't. You know, he hasn't got. You know, he's not no Modric, is he? He's no Pirlo, or he's no Alcantara, or he's nothing like that. But he strikes me as a winner, and I think you want players like that in your team. But I think he wants to go. I think he's had enough, and I think they're letting him go. But they've got to get someone on his type of lines and not a kid to replace him.
Yeah, and that's the worry. There's not really, even for 25 mil, you'll be struggling to find a decent central midfielder that's of a good age. So that remains to be seen what happens there with Arsenal, who they bring in and what they're looking for. Because as we know, the Locatelli thing seems like it's very much Sassuolo playing games with Juventus, trying to get them to make a move. Because what we've seen since the bid or no bid is no bid. Hector Bellerin has agreed terms with Inter Milan, according to Spanish press. It's reported that it's more likely to sign for Inter Milan than Denzel Dumfries, because Arsenal are willing to do a deal on loan, they're saying, with an obligation to buy. Well, that remains to be seen. But if he's agreeing terms with Inter Milan, it does seem like they're very interested in him, maybe over Denzel Dumfries. You see him going. I know that Inter Milan has been a club. It's been Inter Milan or PSG is the two clubs that have been sniffing around Hector Bellerin over the last 6 months or so. Do you see that one going through, Steve?
I do actually. I've spoken to someone very, very close to Inter Milan, who I speak to quite a lot, and this is 100% goer, and it is just a matter of Arsenal agreeing to Inter Milan's demands on what they want to pay for him. I think Bellerin's guaranteed to go. You know, I can't see him at the club next season. I mean, Bellerin starting as Arsenal's right back next year. I mean, he was.
And he's not on the bench. He can't be sitting on the bench. You can't have Hector Bellerin on the bench. Like, I like Hector Bellerin. He's good. He's a good sort of mantra model for the club. But I think it is time to move on. The injuries. He's had his opportunities. He's tried his hardest. I mean, if you read into what he's done, putting in extra hours in training to sort of get back into his best form, and that actually knocked him back a bit because he was training too hard and he got another injury setback. So it just feels like he needs a new bit of scenery, as you do from time to time. Time to go, Jerome, for Bellerin.
Yeah, I think most people agree, don't they? It's he wasn't really getting in the team at the end of the season. The big attribute or massive attribute for Bellerin was his pace, and he seems to have lost a little bit of that, and that has a big impact on how he plays. And Arteta not picking him doesn't suggest that he's part of his sort of plans going forward.
Yeah.
I think that injury's had a massive impact. And
I think
maybe the way that Arteta wants the right back to play is a bit different as well to how Bellerin plays. Maybe he wants him to get more involved in the build-up, and Bellerin's not that type of play. He's sort of a hit and go, isn't he? Like hit and run and just bomb it down the line. And maybe he wants someone bit more technical in that position.
Yeah, I think we've had Hector Bellerini. He did try. He has tried to adapt his game, because if you saw last season, he tries to come inside a bit more and try and get in the build-up. But as you said, when it comes to that final ball, you want 8 out of 10 times him hitting at least the areas, and he doesn't hit them areas. He's not that player, and I think it is time to move on for him. Another player that Arsenal have been linked with, a fullback himself, but Raul Sociedad tied with the last-ditch attempt to hijack Arsenal's £7 million move for Benfica left-back Nuno Tavares. Despite offering him a more lucrative contract, it looks like he's going to be siding with the Gunners. Jerome, you had a little look at him. What's Nuno Tavares saying? What's he going to bring to Arsenal? What kind of player is he? Is it an exciting signing? Is it a good signing at £7 million?
So price-wise, it doesn't seem very risky, does it? It's not like there's a massive outlay of money for someone that's old and you can't make any money on. It seems as though, look, he hasn't officially signed yet. We're already talking about him potentially leaving, but if he does leave, it seems as though you can probably recoup most of that, if not maybe even a bit more. You're not spending a lot of money. So what type of player is he? So obviously he's at Benfica, and he hasn't even been their first choice left back. He's second choice behind a guy called Alex Grimaldo, who was ex-Barcelona, played for Barcelona's B team, and he's been Benfica's left back for about 4 or 5 seasons now. What's interesting to note is something quite obvious, but this might be something that's playing into Arteta's mind, is being a Portuguese speaker. Both of our left-sided centre-backs are Portuguese speakers, Marie and Gabriel. So that could potentially, not saying, you sign someone because of the language they speak, but maybe that's played. Yeah, it helps. It does help. He's 6 foot tall, which is quite big for a fullback, and he's very decent in the air.
Steve will like that.
Yeah. As I was saying, he was second choice last season, and this isn't something to get too excited about. He only started 7 league games last season, because I guess the second choice fullback, normally they'll only really play if the first choice is injured. Perhaps it's very rare that you would put your faith in the second choice if the first choice is fit. However, his style of play, which is something I guess Arteta likes, is very similar to Tierney's. Bombs down the line. Very positive in his approach. So he won't get a bit like Kolasinac used to do. A lot of fullbacks do it. They'll get the ball and they'll sort of, their first choice is to turn inside and play it back to the centre back. I think that if he gets the ball, his first choice is, right, can I go forward? Yeah. Can I bomb on? Plenty of crosses. Quite leggy, a bit like Wan-Bissaka. If you were to have any question marks about him, or ones that have been raised, it has been, how good is he defensively? How good is he when he gets tested going backwards? But on the ball, making things happen and being someone that can contribute offensively, he can do that. But this is him playing is obviously all dependent on what happens with Tierney, how fit he is. But it's nice that they brought in someone young, not someone that sort of had their career. He's got everything to prove. And I think this is probably the type of cover for Tierney that seems very sensible. And I think a lot of the fans should be quite happy about, in my opinion. So not someone that's going to change the way Arsenal play. He's not going to make us from 8th to 1st, but he's going to improve our our other options if Tierney gets in. People do say he's sort of both-footed as well, so he has played right back on occasions. But I'd be very surprised if he does play these. He just seems like just the Tierney backup to me.
All right, thanks for that, Jerome. I didn't look at myself. He's as you said, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out later down the line that he was a former winger, because he seems that type of way. He's so attacking, step overs, strong, as you said, good in the air. when I saw him, look, obviously I've only seen highlights, but when I saw him, it looks like something that's quite exciting. Not too young. Was he 21? So, he's a backup left back, and hopefully over time he can push to put pressure on Cheney, because that's what you want. Cheney is not the kind of player that just rests on his laurels and sits there and is comfortable. He's not that kind of person. But it's always good to have a challenge. It's always good to have competition and another option. So, which we haven't had this season. Playing Granit Xhaka at left back, Saka, which worked at times, but you're losing a top class young winger, and you put him left back. And Kolasinac just he had his time at Arsenal when he first came in, but it kind of, I think some criticism may have got to his head, and he changed his game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this guy in an Arsenal shirt if he does finally complete his deal. So yeah, what are you thinking on this one, Steve?
I've not watched him as intensely as what Jerome goes. I just watched one little bit of highlights, and the first thing that came into my head was Kieran Tierney, and that's why I smiled when he said Kieran Tierney, and all the way through Jerome's analysis, I was thinking, is he going to say Tierney? Is he going to say Tierney? Because I think he looked like Tierney. And when he went Tierney, I was like, yes. Jerome says it, so I'm happy now. I'll go sleep tonight.
Tall as well. I'm surprised at just over 6 foot as well for a left back, which is really good.
He needs reining in. He's a bit raw.
Yes,
what I thought, he's a little bit raw, but as far as transfer wise, I mean, 8 million. I think it's pretty good for me. 8 million, can't go wrong there. Covering left back, so he's only always going to be a covering left back. At the moment, as far as transfer goes, he's not at Benfica's training ground. They're training there. He's not there, and Tavares at the moment is in quarantine in the airport at Portugal. Yeah. So he's on his way over for medical. That's to me. That's done. That's done. It's done.
Yeah.
Done.
All right. So Arsenal's first signing pretty much done. The player's in quarantine, on his way to England. So it's not something to hold our hat on and run around the streets screaming Nuno Tavares, but I mean, it's a start. It's a start.
It's not Nuno Mendes.
It's not Nuno Mendes. It's not. It's the better one. It's the better one.
Yeah.
All right. Lucas Torreira wants to go to Italy, not on a holiday, but to complete a transfer. But there are no offers yet. Arsenal are trying their best to find him a place where he will settle, as he's loved around the club. He's very much liked around the club, and they're trying to find him a place where he's going to be happy at. But yeah, so watch this space with Lucas Torreira. Centre-back William Saliba is off again. The centre-back is set to join French giants Marseille on loan. I think that deal's pretty much almost done. Yeah. However, contrary to reports, there is no obligation to buy it in the contract. Going to have a little chat about this one quickly. Jerome, is it good or bad for the defender? Do you think words have been said? Do you think there is an understanding? What do you think the situation is? Or do you think it's a bit of a mess again?
Yeah. That you just took the words right out of my mouth. The word I was going to use was mess. It's a mess.
The latter.
It's a right mess. For the player, he gets to go back to his home country and play at a big club in France. It's probably good for him. For Arsenal, I think it's not terrible, but it's not good. If he was to go on loan, from an Arsenal point of view, what you probably want is, if he's got any future at the club, you'd want to see him against Premier League opposition. How does he do in the Premier League? How does he handle, all these types of forwards that are in our league? Yeah. That's what you want to see, because if he plays for Arsenal, these are the types of players he's going to come up against every week. Playing in France, it's all well and good playing football, but it's a totally different environment that he's going to be playing in. So to me, it doesn't seem very positive that he's... if you want my honest opinion, I don't think he's going to play a single time for Arsenal. I think he's gone on loan to France to get some football and hopefully play well there and maybe get Arsenal some money back on what they paid on him. Because I don't see why Arsenal would have signed that deal off. Look, we know there's a lot to a transfer. You need to have a club that's interested in him, right? And if maybe there wasn't any clubs in England that wanted to take him on loan, but just from how it looks to me is, like you said, a bit messy and not. I don't think a lot of good can come from it. I'd have liked to have seen him given a chance in pre-season, see how he gets on, train with the team. He's a bit older, obviously, than when he, like everyone, a bit older than when he was last, playing with Arsenal. We might have improved perhaps from his short loan in France. And I think I speak for a lot of Arsenal fans where they would just like to see him play. They want to see him given a chance. And it seems as though he's not going to be given a chance, definitely not this season.
Yeah.
It's a shame because he came with such a big reputation. This young, the next Varane. He was built, he was sort of built as. Look, he's still young. He's not, he's still only maybe 20 or so. He's very young still, but the signs don't look good today. But he's gonna have a long career at Arsenal.
They don't. Steve, Saliba bought for 25 million. Waste of money. Was he overrated when Arsenal bought him? Were the shouts of the next Varane well over the top? Because if you look at the kind of player that Varane is, I would look at William Saliba and think Varane. What are you saying?
Massively, we sort of got too carried away over him. We got carried. We paid too much for him, and I haven't seen that much of him. But I don't see how Arsenal have come out with this statement, which I see today, that they want to send him out to Marseille so they can see whether he's good enough for Arsenal. Well, don't they know by now?
Where was he last season? He was at Nice last season.
He's had 31. He's had 31 games, I think over 2 seasons, which ain't great from a career's point of view. But 31 games to see whether he's okay or not. I agree with Jerome. I don't think we're ever going to see him in a red shirt. I think it was the wrong thing. I don't know what conversation they had when they signed the kid. But even if he came back from Marseille, is he going to play? If Arsenal buying a new centre back, you got Gabriel there. Well, he's never going to be guaranteed first team football. So I think it's a mess. I think Arsenal made a massive cock up, which is nothing new. And I feel sorry for Saliba. As I say, I'm just confused on what he was told when he came to the club. And if he was told that he was going to be a squad player and he had to fight for his place, then I don't know what Saliba's moaning about. Because that's he should be getting on with it, but if it's on the other foot and Arsenal said that he's going to be a regular centre back and they've lied, then that's another thing altogether. But I don't think we're going to see him. I don't think anybody can say 100% what if he's good, if he's bad, if he's going to make it, if he don't. As Jerome just said, he's very young. But no, it's a shame. I think you'll see him back in the French league soon. And as I said, even if he came back, where does he play? He doesn't play centre half for Arsenal, does he, next season or the season after?
Yeah, and we'll get on to potential incomings on Arsenal, especially in the defensive position later on, which then pretty much signs, seals and delivers his fate for the club. I agree. It's a mess. I think obviously the player was overrated when they bought him. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I've not seen enough of him to decide how good he is. 25 million on a 19-year-old is a lot of money to spend. It feels like a Raul Sanelli kind of deal, if you ask me. They paid 72 million for Pepe. He's paid 25 million for a 19-year-old defender. So it stinks of maybe a backhander that maybe slipped under the net.
Looking at Arsenal's defenders, I've never seen an awful bunch of defenders for Arsenal-wise.
A ragtag bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I'd quickly run through them. We don't have to talk about it. Bellerin, Tierney, obviously an exception. Saliba, we just messed that. Gabriel, he still needs to, has to do it. Holding, Cedric, Chambers, Mari, Kolasinac, Mavropanos. I mean,
Jerome's wincing.
That's our defensive power next season at the moment.
Yeah, it says a lot. It says a lot. How many established internationals? I can't remember a time where Arsenal didn't have established internationals in at centre back. No, I'm talking about at centre back as well. I don't remember a time Arsenal didn't have an established international centre back. Like even when people used to laugh at the likes of Mertesacker, the geezer had over 50 caps and won a World Cup for Germany. It's madness. It's honestly madness. So yeah, and if you look at the players who've been linked to, it seems like they're trying to move more into that situation where they're buying maybe not necessarily established internationals, but maybe up-and-coming internationals. And I think that's where Arsenal probably need to go, because buying the established internationals, we want to play in Champions League football. So we're going to have to get the next lot down, which is what happens when you're not in Europe. Arsenal willing to listen to offers for Reece Nelson, Joe Willock and Eddie Nketiah. And reports say Reece Nelson, who's been linked to a summer move away from Arsenal, is struggling to hold down a first-team spot or even get a first-team spot. It's fueled speculation by placing his North London home on the property market, according to reports. The winger's contract is set to expire next summer, leaving the Gunners with a dilemma of whether to cash in now or risk losing him on a free transfer in a year's time. The club have offered the winger a 4-year deal, but he is yet to sign it.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, it stinks of they're realising that Reece Nelson could actually be an asset, but they're not willing to play him to bring up that transfer value. If you think you're looking at Reece Nelson, you think this player's an asset. He could be something who we could potentially get 15 to 20 million for, yeah. But you don't play him, so no one knows how good he is. And what people have seen of him has been pretty bog average, to be honest. He had a breakaway season when he first came in where he looked exciting. He went to Hoffenheim, looked good. There was reports that his attitude was a bit stinking at Hoffenheim once he started to establish himself in the team. And then since then, he's just not done anything. He's come in. I personally feel like he's changed his game to his detriment. Low socks. We all know what low socks means. And he ain't a low sock guy. You ain't a low sock guy, Reece. So pull your socks up and get back to being a winger. Because Jack Grealish, you wait, mate. All right? You're a very good player, but people need to see it. So whether you go on loan or just tell the club you need to go. Either way, for the development of your career, it's not at Arsenal next season, because I don't think there's a spot for you. Eddie Nketiah has also had interest from the likes of Bayer Leverkusen and other English clubs. He's got to go as well. He's got a year left in his contract.
No, just to say, he's going. It's 100% gone.
Yeah, there's for someone who's got the record England under 21 goals scored, someone who's had such a good under 21 and under 23's youth career, and someone who has actually come into the Arsenal squad and scored a few goals. That's worth money. So that's the difference between him and Reece Nelson. The people can see. Do you know what? If we buy him, he could probably get us 10 goals in for our team. So, and that could be a difference between staying in the Premier League, going up from the Championship, and as they saw when he was at Leeds, when he played, he scored goals. So, yeah, Eddie Nketiah, I think, has probably got more value because they've seen him playing. They've seen that it probably wouldn't be a waste of money if they were to cash in on it.
No.
Arsenal are reportedly desperate to sell the likes of Alexander Lacazette. The Frenchman Lacazette was Arsenal's top goal scorer last season with 17 goals. Wow. Ian McCary of the Transfer Window podcast said Arsenal are desperately, and as we said, aggressively marketing some of their higher players in order to get the money back for a transfer budget. With regards to forward, Alexandre Lacazette is one of those players they are desperate to sell. Now, we spoke about this last season, how desperate Arsenal were to get him off the books, but he was digging his heels in with 2 years left. Steve, what are Arsenal going to do here?
Well, you've said a lot of it there. they're desperate to get rid of him. They're trying hard to find buyers for him. At the moment, they can't find buyers. Reason being because they can't find anybody to pay his wages. And Lacazette is just being stubborn. He will not be offered a new contract. He will not be offered a new contract. So if they can't find a buyer for him, which I can't see it, to be honest with you, he will see his contract out and he'll be here next season. And he'll leave in the following season on a free, which we said a couple of years ago. Do you remember we said this geezer's not having it? Because we thought he should go, but he said, well, I'm not going, I'm staying here. There's no clubs. Atletico Madrid refused to pay the wages for him. So he may end up at Atletico Madrid in the end, but he'll be on a free. But he was another one of them ridiculous contracts, deals that Arsenal did. And now they're paying for it. And it's just another player we're stuck with, like you'll probably mention in a minute, the same with William.
Jerome, it's time for Lacazette to leave, isn't it? He's digging his heels in. Can you see why?
Yeah, of course. He's getting a lot of money each week, isn't he? It's funny because Arsenal tweeted out today that I think it's been 4 years to the day since he signed. Fun enough, sort of wishing him a happy anniversary. It's time. It is time for him to, find a new challenge, and time for Arsenal to move on from Lacazette. But because of the contract they put him on, you can see from his side why he's just going to ride it out, then get a big signing on fee somewhere and sign as a free agent. He's got his best mates at the club in Aubameyang. Probably has an amazing time off the pitch. But that's what happens when you let these players that you're not convinced about run their contracts down, and they're not top quality. Then, unfortunately, we've seen this quite a few times, and we haven't learnt our lesson. Look, and as you said, he was our top goal scorer this season, so fair play to him for that. But I think, again, he's coming to sort of an age whereby it's the latter stage of his career, especially in the Premier League, in such a fast-paced league. And time for him to move on. But whether he will or not, it doesn't look very likely at the moment, does it?
Yeah, I think this is part and parcel of the reason why Arsenal need a big clear out, because it's just this mentality. You'd think that these players would have a bit more pride, and when the club quite clearly, for the second season in a row, I might add, making it very evident that you're not in the plans at the club. I don't know why you'd want to stay. Surely you'd want to go somewhere where you're a bit more wanted. And I know that if it was to start the season and Lacazette was still here, all the words would be like, "Oh yes, no, Lacazette's here. He's going to be scoring goals and blah blah blah." The same old trap. But we all know deep down inside that Mikel Arteta doesn't fancy him, and it is time to move on. It's very much time to move on. Reports say Arsenal are very interested in Renato Sanchez. with Liverpool also keen on the lead midfielder. Should Arsenal fail to secure Locatelli, which is very unlikely, decide backups will be needed. And the Quips say that Arsenal have stated their interest, and they say they are very interested in Renato Sanchez. Jerome, Renato Sanchez is a player that won the Golden Boy, something we're very familiar with. After that, he got bought by Bayern Munich. It didn't work out there. They said he was too raw. He then got loaned out to Swansea. He didn't look very good there. Would it be a risk Arsenal buying him? Is he changed as a player? What's the difference in Renato Sanchez at Swansea that we saw in the Premier League to Renato Sanchez now?
Yeah, you're right. The player he was at Swansea, he had a terrible time there. He only played 12 games for them. But what he's probably most remembered for there is they played at Stamford Bridge, and he played a pass towards like the advertising holdings. And I think Swansea were playing in red at the time, and there was a sign up on the advertising holdings, and it was in red. And he probably thought that was one of his players. He literally just passed it out of play. I think he got taken off at half time. From what I've looked at, and after that it was all downhill from there. But he had a terrible time. Apparently, just what I've sort of read up on, he felt very isolated at Swansea. He didn't feel good about himself there. He had very low on confidence. Didn't try and sort of integrate into the team. He would be having sort of treatment on the treatment table, and the other players would be around him. And instead of like having a chat with them, he would just have his headphones on, kept himself to himself. But you are spot on. Since he moved to Lille, he's become the player he's becoming close to the player that Bayern Munich thought they were getting when they signed him from Benfica way back in 2016. And he's really, I think a lot of people that would have seen him play at the Euros would have definitely been impressed with him. I mean, he was pushing the likes of Pogba off the ball. Yeah. And for a guy that isn't as big as Pogba physically, that takes some doing. He came from one of the poorest neighbourhoods in Lisbon, like growing up, and I think that sort of shaped him a little bit, I guess. He looked like one of the best central midfielders in that tournament. What he could do on the ball, he could do it all. He could drive forward with it. He could beat players in the middle, spraying balls. He looked like the complete box-to-box central midfielder at the Euros.
Not just because of his dreadlocks, but he's very much a Edgar Davids kind of player, isn't he? Very tenacious, very good on the ball, could drop a shoulder, could drop a skill as well, which was what Davids was about. He was a bit of an all-rounder, and Renato Sanchez it feels like it could be that. But
so it's very funny you say that because he has really been heavily compared to Davids, but when you speak to Sanchez, he sees himself as a bit more of a Seedorf player. But I think from the viewing, how the viewers see him, because of the runs he goes on, that's what Davids used to do in his career. He'd pick the ball up and really drive, beat the midfield and go towards the opposition defence. But he became Lille's most expensive player when he signed for them in 2019 for 25 million, and he hasn't played like every game. He's not one of those, but I think that's mainly due to injuries rather than he hasn't been picked because of the way he plays. Mm-hmm. But if you're saying all of this, I must say that some people have commented on him saying that he is like a tournament player. When it comes to these tournaments, that's when he sort of raises his game a bit. A little bit like Pogba, to be honest, because Pogba's been that sort of player whereby in the tournaments he's been incredible, and for Man United he's been a bit, I guess, hit and miss. But the best version of Renato Sanchez is a fantastic central midfielder. But going back to your original question, would it be a risk? I guess every player's a risk. And he hasn't got fantastic experience of the Premier League, but he's a different player to the last time he played him. Yeah. And if he can keep that level up that we've seen, the top version of himself, that's a fantastic player.
I think people massively dismiss a player's happiness and a player settling in when it comes to his football skills as well. that mentality is 70% of it. And if a player's not happy where he is, if player's not settled, doesn't feel loved, doesn't feel like he's got friends around him, you're going to find it very hard to get that player to play well on a match day. You can't just switch it on and off. You've got to be happy with where you are. Steve, do you feel like Renato Sanchez would be a good signing for Arsenal if they could get that deal done?
Yeah, I think he'd look lovely in there next to Thomas Partey. I think they'd make a good pair. I mean, I haven't seen as much as what you've two have seen of him. I've seen obviously a lot of him during the Euros. So I've watched every game, and in one of the games, I mean, again, it's poison chalice. Saying they play like so and so. In one of the games, it reminded me of a little bit of Patrick Vieira, because he was like he got the ball, he pushing players well, and then he was strong, and then he made space for himself, and then when the ball was in front of him, it didn't matter how much space there was in between, he would drive towards that goal. Every single time he was driving towards that goal, and it's something similar that Patrick used to do. Although I'm not putting him on, on that, but it's just something I thought when I was watching him. But that's what Arsenal need, don't they? They need a player who can get the ball and drive, who can win the ball and drive past the first two players or first one player, then pass it, then show for himself. The whole get the ball and pass and then maybe receive it back. It's not the Arsenal way. It seems like we changed our way. We need players that could get that ball and drive past that first player in midfield again. Yeah. No, definitely. Would he? I'm just trying to think if he would, would he fit? I mean, what would he do? Would he play as a two with Partey? Would he play with that with maybe another player in front of him, playing in the hole? I
think that would be the way, and they'd need a more expansive, creative midfielder in front of them.
Yeah, you would have a fantastic midfielder.
Oh, mate, that'd be so good.
If you've got Sanchez and Partey, let's get it right. Partey's got to buck his ideas up from last season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if we get the Partey from Madrid, with Sanchez and then another in front of him, that would be an incredible midfield. But again, who that other player would be? But just going back to Sanchez, I mean, he wasn't great at Swansea. I would give him a chance. I would be over the moon if he signed for us.
Yeah, so would I. Arsenal will loan, or the deal's basically done, because if anyone saw the comments earlier on, the post from Matu Guendouzi, his loan to Marseille is done on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. As reported by Charles Watts, the deal is expected to be around 10 million, which is significantly less than the 25 million that they estimated they were to get at the peak of his value. But it's more than 7 million more than the what they paid for him in 2018. Steve, what's the deal saying? How much is it confirmed as? Is there add-ons? What is it like?
No, there's just I think it's 10, and there's no, but there's at the end of it there's an obligation to buy. If you want him, you can take him. So
do you know how much the obligation to buy is for?
6.5.
So it'd be like 16 million.
It ain't too bad.
Yeah,
it ain't too bad. But as far as Guendouzi, he's just another. The important thing is, I mean, Guendouzi is, he never started. He caused problems, and good luck to him. He played well at Berlin. He did well there, and now he's doing well. In himself, he seems a different type of player, different type of attitude. So you've made a mistake, boy, but go. Good luck to you. I hope he has a good career. At Marseille, and I don't think that's a bad deal. I mean, the biggest thing Arsenal-wise, there's about seven. But the trouble is, there's about 7 midfielders that have gone so far. So I don't know how they're going to replace 7 midfielders.
But they need to get Guendouzi off the books.
Yeah,
his attitude wasn't right, and I mean, it's you bring him back in, it's kind of undermining the manager. With everything that's gone on, especially the things that went on when he wasn't even at the club as well. So Yeah, it's not very clever to try and take digs at your manager when you're not at the club, because there's a lot of cameras and they know what's happening. They know what's going on. Matt Ryan looks like he's making a U-turn from his permanent deal at Arsenal by signing for Real Sociedad. The deal comes as the La Liga club have offered the Australian international the number 1 jersey and more opportunity for first team football. So you can't knock him for that. No. He done a good job when he came in, and he settled my nerves because for me, Runnelson's a third keeper and not a second goalkeeper. So yeah, good luck to Matt Ryan. Arsenal are set to have their resolve tested as Aston Villa are expected to come with another offer for Emile Smith-Rowe. Birmingham Live said that a 25 million offer went in, a 30 million offer went in, but Aston Villa are ready to make a 32 million pound offer. Steve, you've heard a little bit different. We'll come to that in a second. Yeah. Arsenal have said they don't want to sell the player, but it appears that Aston Villa really won't go away until the contract situation is sorted. It's also possible that with this news being driven by his agent to force Arsenal to increase their offer for the midfielder. The 20-year-old played 34 games last season, scoring 4 goals and 7 assists. The stats don't really back up the impact that he made on the team, though, do they? How much do Arsenal need to make sure that they keep a player of his qualities, not just to have that quality around the pitch, but as a statement for the club? Jerome, how important is it to keep Emerson Rowe?
Yeah, you're right. It sends out such a bad message. I mean, English, with all these rules and stuff, you just before anything, like English players, they're it's good to have them anyway, just if they're English. But what Smith Rowe did for our season since he came into the team, like obviously everyone goes wild about Saka and how good he was, but Smith Rowe was just as good, if not maybe even more important to our results last season. If you're the variety of positions he can play in. How young he is still, the fact that he's got so much more to sort of add to his game, he can get so much better than what he is at the moment. But they can't unless the bid is absolutely silly and it's one that you can't refuse. But Aston Villa must have got some signs that maybe there's a chance of getting him. Otherwise, to increase your bid from 30 to 32 and a half. That seems a bit sort of pointless from my side, but maybe they know something that we don't. But yeah, a massively important player for Arsenal last season. I'd be so surprised if he goes. Yeah,
Steve, you've heard of different offers potentially coming in from Aston Villa.
Well, you're not wrong about the original price. You're right with 32.5. But with add-ons, it would take it up to 40 million. And I've been told that by James, our Aston Villa man, who's very good when he gives me information. They're not going away, and that's Jerome's made a good point when he said that they must have had some kind of indication of possibly what maybe they will take. I was told that they would take 40. I hope they don't accept it. If Arsenal were in another place, in another time, maybe so, maybe. But we have not got a player like Emile Smith-Rowe. Now, nothing against Emile Smith-Rowe, but probably in a normal top 6 side where Arsenal normally, you would say that Arsenal belong, he probably wouldn't be in the starting lineup. So you were getting someone and he would be learning. But that's not happened. He's in the side. And as we was sort of adjourning to earlier, when we were speaking about Odegaard, I said that I can't see who possibly we could replace Odegaard like to bring in. I think Emile Smith-Rowe could be that person. I think he could play in that Odegaard position. Just in the front, in the number 10 role.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't think, and as I say, like Jerome said, unless it comes in, if Aston Villa came in for like, look, £50 million, I think, you know, maybe you got to take it. But at this moment in time, I hope if he goes, then you know you're just getting rid of all the midfield, and it's like Jerome said, he's an Englishman. It's so important now. But the biggest thing, you know, for me, he's Mesut Ozil's replacement. And I said ages ago when we was asked the question, was, you know, who do you think will be the most valuable youngster in the years to come? And everybody was saying Xhaka or Martinelli. I thought it would be Emile Smith-Rowe because of the position he plays. And I think now it's come to that point where we are at that position where that is the most important place. And I think it'd be an absolute disaster if we sell him. But if Arsenal's resolve is tested, I think we might, because we do need to sell players, and we do need money, and Aston Villa know that. They know that.
But you got to ask yourself, like, Aston Villa are quite clearly spending the Jack Grealish money. Like, that's quite evident, and they obviously see Emile Smith-Rowe as a Jack Grealish replacement. Like,
you know what I don't get. I'll tell you what I don't get. If you're Emile Smith-Rowe, why would you leave Arsenal, your boyhood club, where you've been for so many years, where you've been playing regularly, the fans love you, you know, local boy? Why would you go to Aston Villa? It's not like the Martinez thing, where Martinez wasn't sure if he was going to play or not, and he'd been at Arsenal for 10 years. He was fed up. This is a guy that's playing regularly for Arsenal. Why would you? If it's Man City that come in for you, I can sort of, you know, that's an amazing club that's coming in for you, that are winning things. Villa, let's face it, they're not exactly setting the world alight. They're a mid-table team, Villa.
But so are we.
We are. But who's got more potential, Arsenal or Aston Villa?
No, I hear that, but that's exactly what I meant.
Why did Bundia choose Aston Villa?
But
maybe Arsenal didn't push hard enough for him.
Maybe it's possible. It's possible.
But this is exactly what I meant about. That's a statement. If you sell Emile Smith-Rowe to Aston Villa, who are you getting in? Who are Arsenal realistically? Who are Arsenal bringing in with no European football? Yeah, going downwards with regards to where we've slipped from Champions League to Europa League and past that now. Yeah, who's coming to Arsenal that's going to fill that void of Odegaard and now Emile Smith-Rowe?
I can't see it happening.
Arsenal have lost out on Sumer, Bundia, Daka, Silva, Brian Bertram, and probably Basuma in this window, it looks like. All players that were linked with Arsenal, all people who I've spoke to who contacts who were strongly linked with Arsenal, have all decided to go to other clubs. I'm not saying that. Is it coincidence? Or do they think the clubs Aston Villa, to say what Aston Villa are saying by offering that money to Arsenal, we're saying we're bigger than you. We're better than you.
They're saying we're on the way up, you're on the way down.
Yeah, you're going down there. You need money. You know, here we've got loads. Yeah, 40 million. You know, it's like...
They have got loads. That's the thing. They have actually got loads. Because they spent a lot of money last season. They backed the manager and he pushed him up the table.
But I said it. How many times I've said it, right? I've said that there'll be a time where, you know, all this mess that they've run players over, you know, over the past and not bought players in the past, Arsenal will get to a point where it will worry me. Players will want to leave. Young players will want to leave, and players will go to other clubs, and we will remain stagnant and just go backwards. And I can't see at the moment any way we're going to go forwards. I can't. I can't. Jerome, can you? I can't. I'm an Arsenal fan since I was 5 years old. I want to see something, but I can't see nothing. I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
For Arsenal to move forward in a serious way, it needs to be a serious spend. It needs to be a Roman Abramovich spend. It needs to be a Sheikh Mansour spend. It needs to be even a Glazer spend. It needs to be one of them. It can't be this Arsenal. We'll throw out some links. We'll throw out some big links to some big players. We won't say anything about not going in for these players when we are linked to them. Yeah, because it will suit us and it will keep the fans sweet because we're linked to a big player. And then when it comes to it, we're pushing through over the line last minute.
Yeah,
like Arsenal can't do that, and it feels like they're going to do that again. It feels like they're very much going to do that again. And all this talk about Stan Kroenke's going to back us, Stan Kroenke's going to do this, he's going to do that.
Yeah.
It's absolute rubbish.
Yeah, and we might have had a chance. We might have had a chance of getting players like Isco or Coutinho.
Yeah, Coutinho.
No chance there. We ain't in Europe. They're not coming to Arsenal.
Yeah, when you've got clubs like Leicester, who have now been in Europe for the past few seasons.
Leicester are a bigger pool, aren't they? Leicester are a bigger pool than Arsenal.
It very much seems that way. It very much seems that way. You can't keep using the Arsenal name to think you can bring in players because not everyone's an Arsenal fan.
Jerome, would you accept something for Smith Rowe? For the fact that we could buy, but the trouble is, I'm asking that question.
It's who? Who are you going to buy?
Yeah, there's just some.
Even if you've got 50 million, like let's just say you took let's say Aston Villa gave us 50 million from Smith Rowe, yeah. Even if you had 50 million, Arsenal went, okay, we're going to spend 50 million. Who's going to come to Arsenal for 50 million? Even if you threw 60, who?
Yeah.
Who is out there?
We could have got Isco and Coutinho, but not there.
I'll tell you what I'd have done.
I'll tell you
what I would do. I don't know if it's a case of who would come to Arsenal. It's a case of who could Arsenal go and get this. What I would do if you got a ridiculous amount of money for Smith Rowe is I'd go and buy Eze from Palace for 30 million.
Yeah, okay, but
that ain't gonna happen. But they paid 25 for him. They ain't going to sell him for nothing less than 50. And that's the thing. Especially when you're messing with a club like Crystal Palace, they ain't silly. They sign up their players on 5-6 year deals, especially a kid that was working in Tesco's 3 years ago. He would have signed his life away to Crystal Palace, and he probably will show a bit of faith in them, especially now he's had a knee injury and a bad one at that. And that's the thing. And even if you buy a player like Eze, that's a risk. That's still a risk. He looks good in his first season. I think you want two seasons at least of consistent football to say, do you know what? Nah, Eze's the guy. Eze's the guy to bring for Arsenal forward. And true.
We go back again. He was at Arsenal. Arsenal.
That's true. That's true about the 2 years, but Smith Rowe's had 5 months.
Yeah. But he has also had a season in the Championship where he smashed it. So I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, though. No, you're right. But
it is a case of if you get some money in, who is there to buy?
Who's there to buy?
That's
who's there to buy? You've got 50 million. You've got 50 million pounds to buy a player of a 50 million stature. But your 50 million players are all playing European football, and then coming to Arsenal to not play European football. Unless you're going to give them a ridiculous wage, and we need to move away from that. We can't keep giving these players stupid wages on 4 or 5 year contracts because we're stuck with them if it doesn't work out, or we're stuck with them if it don't work out. If we want to sell them on,
it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing when you actually say the reason why we wouldn't take a big fee for Emile Smith Rowe is because no one will come to us, and that's where we got to. We can't think of no one who would come to us.
Yeah, you can't take a big fee for Emile Smith Rowe because who are you going to replace him with? Because
there's no one there.
There's no point in taking 50 million just to sit on 50 million. That 50 million will go in Stan Kroenke's back burner. Who are you going to buy with it? It's spent 20. It's no point.
You can't sell your best players when players that you want to leave are just running down their contracts and staying at the club. You can't do that. That's terrible.
Backwards, absolutely backwards. You've got to make a statement and say we're not selling him. Here's your 4 or 5 year contract, Emile. Here's your 40 grand, 50 grand a week, whatever you wanted. Because look, Emile Smith Rowe, I'll probably pull up his contract now, and he's probably on 20 grand a week, if that. So what's he asking for? What's he asking for? 60? We can afford that. 4 or 5 year deal on 60 grand a week. Give it to him. Give it to him.
That's the thing. That's another thing. He ain't signed that contract yet. That's worrying.
And that's the thing. That's why there's got to be something that's not pushing him over the line. Is it the case where it's like he wants guaranteed that he's going to get game time? Is it that he wants more money? Is it he wants more years? What is it that Arsenal aren't offering? It feels. Are they playing on the fact that he's Arsenal through and through? That every time you watch them training video, he kisses his badge on the camera. Every time. He's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
But every player can't be in the 11, can they? Every time we buy a player, we can't guarantee it. All our players want assurances to be in the first 11.
Yeah, because they're at a club.
You can't do that.
Yeah, of course you can't. And you shouldn't do that. And I completely understand why Mikel Arteta doesn't do that, because he needs to keep players on their toes. He needs to keep players driven, wanting to stay in that team, fighting to stay in that team, not you said I'll be playing every week. That's a nonsense. That's not where we're at. That's not where we should be.
I can't. I just don't. I agree with Jerome. There's no way we can get rid of him. And I don't know. Next season he might have a disaster and end up being worth 20 million. We don't know. But you can say that about every single footballer on the planet. But at the moment, there's no way you can get rid of him at any price, because there's no way, unless there's something out there that they know that we don't, who will come in to replace him. To be honest with you, if Coutinho and Isco came in and Smith Rowe and we got 40 million, I might swallow that, because I've got two sort of worldy players who've done it, been there, got T-shirts, and I think that's what we need. But it's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah,
let's not get it twisted. Coutinho's world class. He had a dodgy, not even a dodgy couple of seasons. He went to Barcelona and they wanted a replacement for Neymar. I'm sorry, but he's not Neymar. He wanted a replacement for Iniesta. He's not Iniesta. So everyone's a bit upset that Coutinho's not Iniesta or Neymar. But is there another Iniesta? No. Is there another Neymar? No. So and then he went to Bayern Munich, and he's not a Bavarian. He's not a Bayern Munich player. So
another reason why you can't get rid of him. Listen to this is Arsenal's midfielders for next season. Partey, Saka, yeah? Right, top thumbs up. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, right?
No.
He's probably on his way. Elneny? No. Willock? No. He probably got back. Guendouzi? He's gone. Xhaka? He's gone. Who's the next one? Emile Smith Rowe.
Yeah, he can't go. He can't go. All right, and finally, Arsenal are continuing their pursuit of Brighton and England defender Ben White. Arsenal submitting an improved offer for the Brighton defender earlier this week. According to reports, Arsenal saw an initial offer of 40 million turned down by Brighton for White last month, with the Seagulls looking for 50 million for the England international. The longer they take, the more competition they will have. Reports saying that Chelsea are now interested in the defender. I think there was a report just before we came on that was saying that Ben White, Arsenal potentially putting another bid for Ben White. I think I may have seen something.
They offered 47 and they turned that down.
Oh, Arsenal to launch a third bid for Ben White. That's what it is. So it's speculation.
Yeah. They must have some money.
Yeah, they want 50 million. Arsenal are toying with it. They're playing games. They're doing the negotiations, which you can't knock. But with that, you get the risk of other clubs coming in. Is this a deal that's looking likely to get done? And is this add more fuel to the fire of William Saliba not having an Arsenal career whatsoever?
Yeah, this one. Look, this one is the one that looks like being done. As I say, they're not going away. Arsenal. They've had one bid. They've had two bid. They've had the third bid. Brighton's chairman has turned round and he has said, "I'm quite happy for Ben to go to Arsenal as long as Arsenal meet our demands of the player. Their demands is 50 million. Arsenal have already bid 47. So to me, if we don't get Ben White, I don't know. So yeah, I mean the only difference, we've got £3 million discrepancy there, and just as you said, Kieran, I think that's curtains for Saliba.
Yeah. Jerome, what sort of a player is Ben White? Could he add some real quality to Arsenal defence? What would he bring if he was to come to Arsenal?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I think maybe like most Arsenal fans, when the initial, I guess, bid was made and Arsenal fans heard, 40 odd million for Ben White, the initial reaction was probably like, what? Like
50, I heard 50 million for Ben White as well. I heard 53 million for Ben White. I was like, what?
Yeah. Everyone probably thought, God, that seems a bit much. However, looking at what people have said about him, watching him play, I think slowly people come around to the idea that, I don't know if it's value for money, but that this player is actually pretty good. I think we looked at him, maybe, I think when he was at Leeds, I think we had a little look at him.
Yeah, we did.
And I mean, he played, I think he might have played every minute in the Championship for them that season when they won the league. Last season for Brighton, he played, I think he started 36 games out of 38, most minutes in the team. He's played at all the levels. He's played in League Two. He's had loans at Newport, Peterborough, and Brighton actually picked him up from Southampton when he was a kid. He got released there. Brighton picked him up. Been there ever since. He is, as I say, looking at him and talking to people, he is a fantastic ball-playing centre-back, developing play from the back. If you want to build up play and you're not sure like if a holding can do it, this is a player that can do that in a variety of different ways. He can bring the ball out of defence, dribbling. He can spray balls. I think he's sprayed like the most amount of balls out to the left wing, where Arsenal will have Tierney and maybe Saka or Pepe out there. His passing he very rarely gives the ball away. His distribution is fantastic. Maybe doesn't win the most amount of, I guess, balls in the air. Not that dominant, perhaps, but in terms of a technical centre back, he seems to have impressed sort of everyone. And obviously, he's in the England squad now, only playing one season in the Premier League.
Yeah, so, he's also got. He's also a tough tackler as well. He's not afraid to leave one on someone. I've seen that a few times in his game, and he is a defender as well. So it wouldn't be like just buying a John Stones when he was at Everton. You'd be getting a defender there as well. So, what are you feeling that the 50 million is value for money now?
I don't. We won't know if it's value for money until he plays. But I think what you've got to do if you're Arsenal now is I think you've sort of got to try and separate the money from the player and say, is this a player we need? Because Arsenal are desperate for players now, aren't they? They're desperate for quality players, and if they cost a lot of money, I think at the moment, so be it. Also, he's played for Bielsa, incredible manager. He's played for Potter, tactically again, excellent manager. He's played as a centre back in a 2. He's played as a right centre back in a 3. So
he's very versatile as well. Yeah. And I think he played as an inverted right back against Arsenal towards the last game of the season. So he's got pace. I like the look of him. As you said, I totally agree. I was surprised when there was that much amount of money spoken. But yes, as fans, we do need to just separate the money from the player and just talk about whether the player is good enough to be at Arsenal for one, and whether they would add, whether they'd be a good player in the squad, add value to the team. And like you said, he got called up to the England squad when people least expected it. Steve, Ben White for Arsenal, good would be a good signing.
Yeah. I think he'd be the perfect signing for Arsenal. I know more about him from when he was at Leeds. I watched him a lot when he was at Leeds, and that's where he sort of his name came about, and he started to get known by everybody. He was fantastic at Leeds, and Bielsa, they tried to keep him. They didn't want to give him back. He was one of their players of the season, and anybody Bielsa wants to keep, and they can't be a bad player. And then he's gone to Brighton. He's done the business there. He's done it the hard way, and I like that about centre backs and defenders. We talk about the Italian league, and one of the hardest places to defend in football. You could say the same about the Championship. It's a very good learning. It's good schooling to go there. And that's what he done. And he came from Leeds, and he smashed it at Leeds, and he smashed it at Brighton. So yeah, excellent signing. I'd love to have seen him a little bit more at England, but obviously not. And I totally agree with what you said about you've got to take the fee away from the player. Arsenal got to look at players from Brighton and Southamptons and places, maybe Newcastle's, and and players like Jane Walls-Prowse is I just come to my head. Is a shout. Players like that. But Ben White, top player, strong in the tackle, as Jerome said, excellent with the ball, and that's what Arteta likes. And as he said, he's not fantastic in the air, but you got Gabriel, who's absolutely brilliant in the air. I mean, he'll cover him there all day long. And with Holding as the backup, I wouldn't mind that. That's fine with me.
Yeah. Ben White looking like a deal could likely to be done with Arsenal, and I think that's more in the mould of a very good modern type centre back. Let's hope that Arsenal get that deal done. Arsenal are also looking at Takahiro Tominasu if they cannot get that deal done. But
not anymore. They're not anymore. It's just
Tottenham.
come up. Just
Tottenham.
Yeah.
He's just about to say. He looks like he's on his way to Tottenham. Nuno Espirito Santo's first signing. And obviously Ainsley Maitland-Niles, another player who's up for sale. It's time for him to move on. He's not a career at Arsenal. He went to West Brom and didn't set the world alight. And if you're not going to set the world alight at West Brom, you certainly ain't going to be in Arsenal's midfield.
Yeah. I keep going back to that pass, Kieran. That pass. Sorry, Ainsley, but that's embedded in my football memory for life. That is that pass.
All right. Never going to let him forget it. All right. Thanks, guys, for an excellent Arsenal special, Arsenal transfer special. Steve, thank you for joining us tonight.
Pleasure, Kieran. Really enjoyed tonight.
And thank you for joining us, Jerome.
Yeah, cool. Let's see what the next few days and weeks have in store for us.
Yeah, hopefully it's not all doom and gloom. All right, we are actually happy Arsenal fans. One of the very few out there. We just want to see the best for Arsenal. We want to see some good signings. Arsenal need it. There's no option anymore.
I read that list out, but we've got an excellent six-a-side team next season so far. So
before we go, Steve, was there any more transfer news you want to add there before we go?
No, nothing. Nothing off the top of my head, mate.
All right, sweet.
No.
All right, but make sure you catch us on the Transfer Exchange Show Twitter, on the Transfer Exchange Show Instagram. Lots of new things coming up soon. Peace out, people. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe and wash.